and welcome to another episode of Brettcast Movie and TV Talk. So currently with the success of Bumblebee movie, the state of the live-action Transformers movies is, well, unknown. A lot of things have been thrown out there. Some of it's good, some of it sounds pretty friggin' terrible. The good things I'm totally on board with is a solo Optimus Prime movie, and the supposedly in production Cybertron animated movie, and both of those I'm on board with. Ones I'm not on board with are a live-action Beast Wars movie and a straight-up sequel to Bumblebee, because I think that the Optimus Prime movie should serve as the continuation of the several points that come up in the Bumblebee movie. As I've said, the future of the live-action Transformers franchise is in an unknown state right now. Bumblebee hit major success enough that Hasbro and Paramount have officially decided to call it a reboot for the franchise. Now, I've made an entire video that they need to make a solo Optimus Prime movie, and we know that there's an animated Cybertron movie with no real details about that out there right now. So where else could they go, and what else could they do? I watched a video where the person suggested a sort of anti-hero Decepticon movie set on Cybertron. They came up with the idea of doing a sort of idea where whatever the Decepticons are doing is shown as the right thing from their point of view, for the greater good of Cybertron. Sounds similar to another bad guy from the MCU, huh? Sounds a lot like Thanos, doesn't it? I actually like the idea of this. Make a movie centered around Megatron and maybe a few other Decepticons. Portray Megatron like Thanos is portrayed in Infinity War. Have him say many times that he's doing this for the greater good of Cybertron, for something like this, and this is how Megatron is. Look at him in The Last Knight. He's willing to sacrifice the entire planet to, Earth to rebuild Cybertron, and he did the same thing in Dark of the Moon, too. Always doing whatever it takes to get Cybertron back, and he thinks that he's in the right. I think it would make a pretty interesting movie, especially with a seeming rise in movies about characters who are usually villains. Another good idea are more movies on single Transformer characters like Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, and the idea of doing a movie about villains combined in one. I think it would be cool to make a full-on Megatron origin movie. The confusing idea is, where could they take the story from? This all depends on where they would want the movie to fit into the franchise. If they went the reboot universe, I think they could take from the IDW miniseries titled Megatron Origins. They could set it on Cybertron, have a G1 looking Megatron, and all that. I won't go through the story told in that comic, but it's essentially, how Megatron went from a nobody to the leader of the Decepticons that we know, and that's where it ends. I think it would fit in well for the reboot universe that Bumblebee is starting us with. This is also coming from how the director said that he wanted to have a G1 designed Megatron show up in the Battle of Cybertron in the beginning of the Bumblebee movie. If a Megatron origin story about the Megatron from the Bayverse were to happen, then they'd have to take from, well, they wouldn't have to, but I'd pick from the comics that were before the 2007 movie, which would be interesting, but given how audience are tired of Bay Transformers movies and want more Bumblebee-like movies, I don't think it would be in favor as much as my first idea. So now, if it all went how I want it to, which isn't going to happen, we would get an Optimus Prime movie next and a Megatron movie for live-action movies. The next phase to go on from would be to take up the mantle of placing a movie right after the Bumblebee movie. And I'm talking, just call it a full-on Transformers movie. We saw several bots coming to Earth at the end of the movie, and you already have Optimus Prime and Bumblebee there, so let's see who else arrived on on Earth and actually survived the war on Cybertron. That's all I have to say, so if you want to add to the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening and goodbye.